Hello, my name is Louisa, and before we begin tonight's story, I'd like to just introduce myself as the creator and the voice of Sleep Stories with Louisa. And if these stories are helping you to rest, and if you're enjoying them, then please feel free to follow the podcast on your listening app. It helps others to find their way here too, so we can share a little more calm and better sleep. And if you'd like to share our link, we'd be ever so grateful. So thank you once again for listening. And let's begin. Welcome back to Sleep Stories with Louisa. And tonight's story invites you to walk slowly along a Cornish harbour long after the village has gone quiet. The stone walls curve gently around dark tidal water. Small fishing boats rock gently against their moorings. Ropes shift and settle, and wood creaks in slow rhythm. And above the harbour, cottages sleep. Most windows are dark now, though one or two may still hold a low amber glow. Along the quay, harbour cats have found their night places. One sleeps curled in a coil of rope. Another stretches across folded nets, and a well-fed tabby rests on a doorstep beneath a hanging lantern. And a lean dock cat yawns wide, then settles again beneath an overturned crate. And as you walk, nothing asks anything of you. The tide moves, the masts knock gently, and the harbour holds everything in place. This is a place where the world has finished for the day, where movement is slow, where sound is softened by water and stone, and where the night continues, steady, calm, and undisturbed. Allow yourself to get comfortable, somewhere where you do not need to be alert, somewhere your body can be fully supported. There is nowhere to go now, and nothing to respond to, nothing to prepare for, just for a moment. And the quiet rhythm of your own breath. Just notice it, the gentle rise and the soft fall, like water against stone, in and out. And you might begin to imagine your breath moving like a slow harbour tide, not crashing, not rushing, just arriving and easing back and arriving and easing back. And as you breathe in, the body lifts slightly, and as you breathe out, the body settles, a slow rocking, barely noticeable, as if you were resting in a boat that is safely moored, held in place, supported on all sides. Your jaw can soften, your tongue can rest gently in your mouth. The muscles around your eyes can loosen. Allow the shoulders to feel heavier. Breathing in a small rise and breathing out a longer, quieter settling. And if it feels comfortable, you can let the out-breath be just slightly longer than the in-breath, like the tide that lingers before returning. Your hands resting loosely, your fingers uncurling without effort, your legs supported, your feet warm and still, and nothing needs to hold you up. Nothing needs to stay ready. The breath rocks gently. The body follows, in and out, and the nervous system begins to slow now, like a harbour at night, like a tide that has finished rushing and now simply moves quietly. You don't need to listen carefully. You don't need to stay with every word. Just let the rhythm carry you. Let the breath move. Let the body be held. And as everything begins to soften, we can begin our story. You arrive tonight at the top of a sloping harbour road. The village behind you is quiet now. Stone cottages rest shoulder to shoulder, their roofs dark against the night sky, and a single upstairs window glows faintly in the amber light. Then another further along, dim and steady, but most are dark. The road curves gently downwards. Granite walls line either side, cool and pale in the starlight. And at the bottom the harbour basin opens wide and still, and you begin to walk down the slope. Your footsteps are soft on the worn stone. The air carries salt, clean and steady. As you descend, the sound reaches you fast. A quiet creak, a small shift of rope, a slow knock of wood against wood. Not loud, not sharp, just movement that belongs here. And the harbour reveals itself gradually. Masts rise like the thin black lines against the sky. Small fishing boats rest in the dark water, their reflections trembling gently beneath them. The tide is in, not high enough to reach the upper steps, and not low enough to leave the boats resting in mud. Just enough to hold everything in suspension. The water moves, but only slightly. A contained motion. A harbour held within stone arms. You reach the bottom of the slope, and the quay stretches left and right. Granite underfoot, cool, even, reliable. Coils of rope rest near mooring posts. Lobster pots are stacked neatly against the wall. A folded net lies draped over a bollard, its floats catching a faint silver edge of moonlight. Nothing is hurried, nothing is unfinished. The boats are tied securely, knots pulled firm, lines looped carefully, everything held exactly where it should be. And you begin to walk along the harbour wall, slowly, without needing to arrive anywhere in particular. To your left, the water moves in, small, repeating motions. To your right, stone buildings rise directly from the quay. Shuttered windows, closed doors, and a wooden sign hanging above a narrow doorway. Further along, a lantern burns low outside of a cottage door, and beneath it, a cat sleeps, curled into itself. White paws are tucked beneath a striped body. Its breathing slow, and its ears flick once, then settle again. You pass without disturbing it. A little further along, another cat lies stretched across a folded cell, and this one yawns as you approach. A wide and silent yawn, teeth flashing briefly in the lantern light. Then it blinks at you, unconcerned, and it lowers its head again. And near a stack of lobster pots, a lean grey harbour cat shifts its position. Not owned, not waiting, simply choosing this place for the night. It circles once, twice, then lowers itself into a hollow between the coiled ropes ropes and the wooden crate, and the harbour accepts all of them, well fed and wandering alike. Everything here has found its position. The masts tap softly against one another. The ropes ease and tighten with the tide. The water continues its small, contained movement. And you walk on, the harbour curving gently ahead, and the night remaining steady around you. And the quay begins to bend gradually now, following the shape of the cove. The water beside you shifts in small silver movements. Reflections stretch and break and then reform. And a boat lifts slightly, then settles. Its hull makes a low wooden sound against the fender. A pause, then another small knock, and further along ropes pull gently at their moorings. Fibers tighten, then ease, and you notice the different textures beneath the low light. Thick braided rope, pale and worn smooth by salt. Rough lines flecked with tar. And a coiled rope rests like a sleeping animal beside an iron ring fixed deep into the granite. The stone beneath your feet holds centuries of tide marks, dark, horizontal lines showing where the water once rose. Lower down, slick seaweed clings to the harbour steps, now still, now quiet. A mast creaks somewhere ahead. Another answers from further across the basin. The sounds never overlap sharply. They rise, they soften, they dissolve back into stillness. And a small wooden boat rocks closer to the quay. Its reflection fractures into wavering lines. A buoy bobs nearby. Up, then down. Up, then down. And as you walk, you pass a stack of folded nets. The floats threaded along their edges, catching the moonlight faintly. Small circles, evenly spaced, perfectly still, resting until morning. A cat lies half hidden behind the nets. Only its ears visible at first, then the curve of its back. It watches you with slow, blinking eyes, unthreatened, unmoved. and after a moment it lowers its head again, its body rising and falling in sleep, and the harbour breathes in its own way. Boats shift, waters lift, ropes answer, and above the sky is clear and deep. Stars hold steady above the black outline of masts, and the cottages above the harbour wall are mostly dark now. One final window dims, then goes out. The village has finished. Only the harbour continues. You walk past a wooden bench fixed into the stone. The salt has bleached its surface pale. The grain has raised in places and smoothed in others. A tabby cat sleeps beneath it, pressed against the warmer stone wall. Its tail flicks once in a dream, then becomes still. A small fishing boat sits slightly apart from the others. Paint faded, name barely visible along the side. It moves a fraction more than the rest. Not loose, just slightly freer in the current. The rope attached to its bow tightens, slackens, and then tightens again. You hear the faint splash of water against the inner harbour steps. Not rhythmic like waves on open sea, contained, enclosed, held by granite on all sides. And you continue walking past lobster pots that are stacked carefully, their wooden slats weathered grey, metal fastenings dulled by years of salt air. A lean black cat stretches slowly across the top of one stack, front paws reaching forward, back arching gently, claws extending briefly. Then it folds itself down, down, down again. Eyes half closed, unconcerned by your presence. A gull shifts somewhere high on a rooftop, but does not cry out. The night is too settled for that. And you reach the far curve of the harbour. Here the water looks darker, deeper. The reflections longer and less broken. A small dinghy bumps lightly against the stone. Tap. Pause. Tap. Pause. Tap. Then stillness. The air carries the faint scent of salt and old wood. Clean. Simple. Nothing sharp. Nothing heavy. Just sea and stone and rope. and you pause for a moment at the edge of the quay, and the boats remain exactly where they are meant to be. Knots secured, lines measured, nothing drifting away. Behind you along the curve that you have walked, the harbour lies in layers. Boats closest to you shifting gently, those further back almost perfectly still. Cats folded into themselves in quiet corners. Masts drawn upward into darkness. Water holding everything in place. You begin to walk back along the quay. The same path, but softer now, more familiar. Each sound anticipated, each movement known. A rope creaks, a boat rocks, a cat yawns somewhere unseen, and the harbour continues its small, steady motions, unchanged, unhurried, unfinished. The night deepening slightly, not darker, just thicker, as if the air itself has settled lower. The harbour remains exactly as it was, exactly as it will be until morning. The tide continues its quiet movement, not rising quickly and not retreating, just shifting. A small lift of water along the stone, a gentle easing back, boats responding in slow agreement. Up slightly, then down again. Up, then down. The movement is never abrupt, never urgent, just steady, contained within the curve of the granite walls. A soft lap of water against the harbour steps, then silence, then another quiet lap. The tide does not hurry, and it does not pause for long either. It simply continues, water pressing lightly against wood, wood answering in a low tone, then settling. The basin holds everything safely inside it. Nothing drifting outwards, nothing pushed too far. Just small repeating motions as you walk slowly along the quay. The harbour moving without even needing you to move. Tide lifts and lowers, lifts and lowers. Each boat held exactly where it is meant to be. Lines firm, not secure. The rhythm continuing, water brushing stone, water easing away, a faint hollow sound beneath the boats, then quiet again. The sky above remains unchanged, stars steady, masts upright and still. Only the water continues its patient work, up, then down, up, then down. The harbour does not require attention. It does not ask to be watched closely. Its rhythm is simple enough to continue on its own. Water holding wood, wood resting on water, a small contained tide moving in the dark. The lift becomes smaller, the settling slower, the movement softer, until it feels almost suspended, almost weightless. The tide remains quiet, steady, and the harbour rests within it. You do not need to follow the movement closely now. It continues without you. The boats remain tied. The water remains contained. Nothing needs adjusting. Nothing needs holding in place. The tide knows its rhythm. Up, then down. A soft brushing sound against a harbour steps. Then stillness. Then another gentle rise. And then stillness again. You do not need to stay with the harbour. You do not need to walk any further. The water will keep moving in its own time, slow, even, untroubled. The lift becomes smaller, the settling softer, up, then down. And if the words begin to fade, that is perfectly fine, because the tide continues without effort, without attention, just a small movement in the dark, up, then down, and the harbour remains